Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Jays Fit Down podcast. And today we're going to be talking about the Denver Broncos and their 2024 defense, how amazing it was, but more importantly, moving forward into 2025. I think this team has the potential to be a heavy sleeper. And a friend of mine pointed this out to me the other day, but you know, going to like the top 10 teams going into 2025. I think the Broncos definitely should be on that list. And this team, Bo Nix, who had an amazing rookie season, and you add their phenomenal defense that they have, which we'll get to in a second. I think the Broncos have potential in the AFC West that, with the Raiders, we know how they are. And I mean, the Chiefs, we know are always going to be the Chiefs, but they were slipping a little bit. They've lost a few players in free agency. So, we don't know what to come of that. But overall, I think that people should stop sleeping on the Broncos, man. Like, this team is going to come next year. They're coming for heads. Like, they are going to be definitely a force to be reckoned with in the AFC West for sure. I would even argue the AFC in general. So we'll get to that. Before we do that, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Check us out here on Jays Fit Down Football Podcast. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those good things. So make sure you give us a follow there. We're on Instagram, Jays Fit Down Pod, TikTok, Jays Fit Down Pod. Make sure you check us out. So, like I said, if you watched any NFL football last year, then the Broncos had a very good defense last year. They ranked seventh in total yards allowed, 317.1 yards allowed per game. Second in points allowed with 16.8 points allowed per game. They also were eighth in passing yards allowed and sixth in rushing yards allowed. 15 takeaways on the year, which ranked 10th in the NFL, 44 sacks as a team, first in the league. This team was composed greatly of players that can get after the quarterback, that can cover in the back end. With Pat Surtain obviously winning the Defensive Player of the Year award. Riley Moss back there, he's only going to continue to get better. Brandon Jones, who was a top safety according to PFF rankings last year. This team is only going to get better and better, And then I moved to the defensive line. DJ Jones. Nick Benito at linebacker had a quiet season, 13 and a half sacks last year. For this Denver team. The previous year, he had 8 sacks. So this is a guy that he's getting better each and every year he's in the league. And I honestly think that if Denver goes about this draft process right, then they can definitely continue to build upon what has already been a great foundation that they've set for their defense. And they also added Dre Greenlaw in free agency, right? So you pick up a guy like him, come over from San Francisco. He got hurt in the Super Bowl last year. It was a bit of a down year for him, according to like his standards. But overall, he had a good season, still solid season. I think, when he's fully healthy, he can definitely be one of the better linebackers in the NFL, and coverage wise, he's a great tackler, instinctful player, and I think that adding him and Talanoa Hufanga as well from the 49ers was a great move for the Denver front office and for agency, getting him, he's a definitely, I would say, maybe a top 15 safety in the league, top 15, top 15 safety. And again, adding them to that defense led by, Vance Joseph there. I mean, this is only going to get this team better and better and better. Now, offensively is where you might have some concerns, only because I say this. Bo Nix is a great player, like I mentioned, in the top of the episode. And if they could just get him some like other pieces out and wide out, like you got Marvin Mims, you got Cortland Sutton, I understand that. But I would say if they could grab like one of those, one of those receivers in the draft, like somebody that can help stretch the field and take the top off the defense, I really think it would help out that Denver offense, and run the football. They get a better run game going. It would only take more pressure off of Bo Nix and Sean Payton calling the plays back there and the play action game, how they get that going. I think the offense, if they can get it on par with the defense, this team could be really dangerous and hard to beat. The Broncos for a long time have not had consistent play at the quarterback position since Peyton Manning retired. They've gone through like different quarterbacks almost every year. It seemed like, Drew Lock and, Man, I forget the dude's name, man. Who was that dude's name? Paxton Lynch, I think, was one of them. Anyway, they've gone through so many guys, so many quarterbacks. It doesn't make any sense. Like, but and heck, Teddy Bridgewater was there for a year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So now you got a franchise cornerstone in Bo Nix, and if you could just give him help on the offensive side of the ball, and more help into addition to what he already has, because Cortland Sutton's the number one receiver. You got your number one receiver locked down, right? He's your number one guy. He's going to be getting the ball a good portion of the time, but you still need a guy that can take the top off the defense. Well, that's Marvin Mims, but a guy that can help stretch the field vertically, a receiver that can create those get those one-on-one contested catches and create those mismatches. That way, it opens up the middle of the field for your tight ends and your other different play styles that Sean Payton likes to run there in his type of offense. And I think definitely, the defense is already as good as it is, if your offense is able to score and sustain those long drives, keep your defense even more rested when they're on the sidelines, and they get out there and they're going to get you the ball back immediately. And that's why you need to have an offense that can complement that and sustain those long possessions on the field, right? So for me, that's what the Broncos are trying to, looks like they're trying to do heading into the 2025 season. Is what they need to do. Again, you got a great foundation here that you've laid defensively, offensively as well. You just need to add a little bit to it. I think they're not too far out from being a top 10 team in the league. Like I said, you could even argue that they are a top 10 team in the NFL, or they will be this year, and a large part of that is because of the guys they have on that roster that can get after the quarterback, and create pressure, affect the quarterback, disrupt things offensively. When you have guys that can do that, then that you have a good team. You know why? Because even if I'm not sacking the quarterback, if I'm getting in his face, if I'm making him feel me, if I'm a defensive lineman or a linebacker rushing the passer, whatever the case may be, then I'm getting him off his kilter, I'm getting him off his game. And when that's the case, the whole offense is going to be messed up. Why? Because now the quarterback's he's out of his psyche. So now you're going to have incomplete passes, and he's going to be trying to rush things because he's going to feel his internal clock speeding up and up and up, and that's just going to create a domino effect. That is if you're defensively, if you're doing what you're supposed to do, affecting the offensive line, running different pressures and different blitzes, things like that. Winning your one-on-one matchups and opportunities, just getting after each and every play. When you have a defense that can do that, then you got a good team, and it kind of reminds me now the 2015 Broncos team that won the Super Bowl that year against Carolina was very good. Is this defense better? I'm not sure. No, I won't say they're better, but they're very talented. They're close. That team had Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib. They had some very talented playmakers on that side of the football that year. With the offense that wasn't as great as it, could have been, but the defense did what it was supposed to do, and it didn't matter. They won the Super Bowl. So with this year, and you got a guy like Bo Nix, who I believe could be the next franchise QB of this team, the face of this Denver Broncos franchise, since Manning, since then he retired, 10 years ago. This is, this team can take a next step. They can take the step up, and make themselves a formidable foe for the rest of the NFL. I'm saying it right now on this podcast, before the season kicks off, the Denver Broncos will be in the playoffs again next year. And heck, they may even make it to the divisional round. They may get out the wild card. I don't know. I can't sit here and say they're going to win the AFC West because still at Kansas City, right? And the Chargers, I'm not, we know what the Chargers do every year, so they're a regular season team. Justin Herbert just doesn't have it when it comes to the playoffs. But even again, like I said, Kansas City, they've lost Joe Tooney. They've lost a couple other players in free agency that are important to them. So Justin Reed being one of them as well. So it's I really, I'm not expecting them to have a huge drop off year, but the Chiefs won't be the same dominant team that they've been the last couple of years. Are they still my pick to go to the Super Bowl and represent the AFC? Yes, they are. Because until proven otherwise, until they're beaten by Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Lamar Jackson or Bo Nix, this is what's going to be the case. But for the sake of this particular podcast right now, I'm just saying that this Broncos team is going to be. Don't sleep on them. The main gist of it, don't sleep on them. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with next year. Like once they get that offense on par with the defense, and that and Bo Nix in his second season, he already got a year under his belt. Coming in as the starter, starting his whole rookie year, having that experience, being able to be on the field, with the live game reps and everything like that, that plays a role that's going to help him only, even more. So he's going to definitely come into this year with a buttload of confidence. I expect that from him, and he's going to be slinging that ball. Man, the Broncos are going to listen. Don't sleep on Denver, man. Like I'm telling y'all right now, like do not sleep on this team. Like they're coming for, they're coming for y'all next year for real. So, but that's pretty much what I want to talk about today on the episode. Like I said, just watch out for the Denver Broncos. Main gist of it: watch out for this team. They watch out for them. But anyway, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Check us out here on Jay's Fifth Down. Like I said, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So, just check us out there. We're going to be uploading episodes right there. And this one will be up there as well. Also, Instagram, TikTok, Jay's Fifth Down Pod. Find us there. We'll see you next time on the show.